American social credit is a system that provides purchasing power to each individual in every household in the nation. It provides us each with a flow of money just as a public utility provides water, gas, or electricity, except that purchasing power, costing nothing to produce, can be provided to the public free of charge in amounts sufficient for American families to generate consumer demand, sufficient to pay for all the good things American workers can produce. The domestic economy combines three sectors: households, or individuals and families earning and buying in their quest for betterment and happiness. Government is politicians approving or not approving the purchase of public goods which different interests seek to obtain. Businesses are institutions where entrepreneur, engineers, managers, and skilled people of all kinds combine their efforts to make whatever households, government, and other businesses are willing to pay above cost of production to obtain. Essential to the working of all three sectors is money, that medium of exchange that frees human cooperation from the limitations of barter and allows us to go to work specializing in the providing of one or a few kinds of goods, thereby to earn money which can be spent on any combination of the array of products that confront us when we go shopping. A fundamental problem of entrepreneurs is the hard fact that workers and input suppliers must be paid a long time before the product can pay for itself through its sale to customers. The entrepreneur needs a money advance to bridge the time gap between sending out paychecks and taking in revenue from selling the product. Those with enough money to make such advances to businesses have organized themselves into a new sector entirely. They are the financial sector, the capitalists, the banks. They lend their money at interest, and what's more, they have used their very considerable power to make sure that their loans are the only money that circulates in the economy. This means that the banking elite can starve us of purchasing power if they find it in their interest to do so. Moreover, the economic system is set up so that purchasing power and asset wealth of the household, government, and business sectors automatically drain away to the financial sector. As I hope to make clear to you in the next 7 minutes, this depression is the result of everyone trying to pay banks principal and interest totaling more than the money provided by all outstanding bank loans. Domestic sector solvency is impossible, and always has been. The problem is clearly shown here. The financial sector lends money but requires an amount equal to the loan plus interest in return. Some people regularly take out loans and pay them back. But the problem is that it is literally impossible for everyone to be able to do so. Those who are good enough earners to make their loan payments did so only by pushing the marginally good loan payers into default. And always keep in mind that in the domestic economy, all of the money we use, our checking account money, is deposits that were created by bank loans, and deposits that will revert to thin air when the loan is paid off. A loan may go to a business that makes a profit, but when principal and interest are paid, there will be less money in the economy to sustain the profitability of businesses than there was before the loan was issued. Now you see the basis of the claim that in the long run, inflation is impossible. Every dollar loaned is a yo-yo or a boomerang dipped in Gorilla Glue. The bankers let it out and pull it back, dragging foreclosed assets with it. The inflow of loans and the outflow of principal payments balance themselves out. They balance out at zero. And on top of that, there is the obligation to pay interest on the loan, and no money is provided by the financial sector to enable businesses and government and consumers to pay the compound interest. Our purchasing power is sucked into the vortex of usury as shown above, creating a deflationary spiral that will swallow up the American people, leaving us propertyless beggars where once our ancestors saw a limitless future. In this diagram, we see the red arrows indicating dollars of purchasing power leaking out of the economy. The dotted blue line extending from the financial sector to the business sector represents the investment lending that is not taking place. Why is it not taking place? It is not taking place simply for the reason that the money men know the country is in the throes of a drought of purchasing power and that there is no consumer demand or government demand or business sector demand left to sustain any new ventures or any expansions of old ventures. In the theory of the standard textbooks, based on the ideas of the most famous names in economics, we are told that there is no leak, that savings must equal investment, that dollars paid in interest are reinvested. This is, of course, a lie, or rather 3 lies. The first is that household sector saving is substantial and that it translates automatically into investment. In reality, the households are deep in debt, and money the financial sector holds is impounded interest, that they are not recirculating through domestic investment. The second and third lies are the tall tales that government stimuli, bailouts, are all deficit funded will somehow add to American production, and that continuing to not tax the super rich gaining from bailouts, deflation, and interest will somehow initiate new investment in the United States. For insight into these lies, I can do no better than recommend to you the YouTube cartoon, Bank Bailouts Explained. The most important feature of the American economy is its division into an upper and lower loop, with the 2 loops mediated by the financial and government sectors. The lower loop consists of the household sector and the domestic production. The upper loop is the abode of the international financier, the venture capitalist, and the currency and derivative speculators, and the giant international corporations built by the credit monopolies of the banks, who are the principal owners of these corporations. The lower loop pays interest and the upper loop receives it. The financial sector lends to businesses and households who repay the interest directly, but they also lend to government, which the households and businesses also pay for. And always the amount borrowed is less than what must be paid back. Critical in managing the flow of purchasing power to the 2 loops is the central bank, the Federal Reserve. The lower loop is kept on tight rations by a policy tool called the discount rate. This is the rate at which the government lends to banks afraid of exceeding the limitations set by the fractional reserve system. The overriding policy in the handling of this lever of policy is to fight inflation, even in the midst of the most consuming deflation, which of course the Fed never acknowledges as a problem. Meanwhile, the upper loop receives the bounty of the Fed's open market operations at the New York Federal Reserve Bank, where the Fed acts merely and submissively as the private money market fund for international bankers. When the bankers want dollars for buying up the foreclosed properties of some bankrupted country, they merely sell the New York Fed their treasuries and get all they want. When the plundering is over, they convert back to interest-earning securities. Lately, however, the dollar has been doing very well in American deflation, and the elite loopers are getting all they can. That is what quantitative easing is all about. It is also why the upper loop is so frantic to sell their gold to the lower loop. In part 2 of this presentation, we will examine a way out of this new Great Depression, brought about by interest drain and a banker's conspiracy to impound purchasing power that should be reflating a falling national economy airship. Incorporating many of the ideas of the greatest economists ever to be ignored, American social credit is a great last hope. The American people have a choice: to go with the blinders of Austrian school economics, with Stiglitz, with Krugman, and submit to the tight harness of the Rothschild gold standard, or take this extremely different remedy, repudiating the fraudulent national debt, getting our money free as air, and pumping that fresh purchasing power to households is the only way new money will enter the economy.